Very good. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April 11th, 2023, and it is now 6:44 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Faircloth Haggers.
Here.
Member Raw.
Here.
Board Member Bailey.
Here.
Board Member Fletcher.
Here.
Board Member Avila. Vice Chairman Guzman.
Here.
Chairman Losner.
Here. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of January 17th, 2023. Been moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by the Vice Chair. All in favor? Any opposed? Tab 2, new business. Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tab 2 is a resolution of the Board of the Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the issuance of principal amount not to exceed $4.5 million in tax increment revenue note, taxable series 2023 of the Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency for the purpose of financing the acquisition, relocation, clearing, construction, and/or rehabilitation of properties and other such activities authorized under the redevelopment plan, pledging the net tax increment revenues to the payment of the note, making findings and determinations as to the note, authorizing the sale of the note to Regions Commercial Equipment Finance, LLC, pursuant to a negotiated sale, and accepting the proposal for the purchase of such note, making certain findings as to the necessity of a negotiated sale, determining the form, date, interest rate, maturity, purchase price, and method of execution of such note, providing for the terms and authorizing the execution of such note, authorizing officials of the agency to take all necessary action in connection with the issuance and sale of the note, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manager, is this you or Ms. Driver?
Ms. Driver.
Ms. Driver, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce the item with a brief presentation. So on December 14th in 2022, the CRA Board approved a resolution approving a commercial contract for the purchase of 5 parcels of real property located at 204, 220, and 230 Chrome Avenue, and then 28 and 32 Northwest 2nd Street for approximately $4.2 million. And in the yellow are the properties. So the property consists of over 30,000 square feet of land, over 19,000 square feet of retail office space, and over 9,100 square feet of parking. And just for frame of references, for those who may not recognize that building, that is right on the corner of Chrome Avenue and 2nd Street. So why should we purchase this building? First and foremost, it aligns with our CRA plan to eliminate slum and blight and increase valuations. So the largest bay of this building has been vacant for more than 7 years, and no other viable businesses have been in either of the bays for several years. So this property has been vacant for a very long time. By purchasing it, this will increase the value of the property with the building improvements that are intended for the property. It is estimated that this will net us new TIF of over $1 million over 15 years. This will also boast significant economic impact, to downtown by increasing traffic and increasing the value of neighboring properties. And lastly, it will increase revenue to the CRA, not only through the additional TIF, but also for the potential revenue sharing and/or rent. Other reasons to purchase this property. The building's location. It is a very important area that would serve as a catalyst and connector site for downtown. Vacant storefronts like this one contribute to a negative place brand and create an impression with potential customers and businesses that there may not be enough activity in downtown for their spending and/or investment. We have heard that just about every time we've walked a new business in downtown, they've expressed some concern about all the vacant storefronts in the downtown area. It is also, in its current condition, the building is a dead zone along Chrome Avenue, which discourages pedestrian activity between the blocks. So if you're walking from Flagler up north to 2nd Street, by the time you get there, you look at that building, you think nothing else is happening further north on Chrome. So that, lends to a negative impact on downtown traffic, but then also vacant storefronts of that length in downtown have an especially negative impact on the downtown's nightlife and economy. It makes people think it's unsafe to walk by because it's so dark. And then lastly, out of the potential opportunity sites in downtown Homestead, this site, more than any others, fills in a detrimental gap in the built environment, meaning the existing buildings there. And it can create a center of activity and positively position downtown for additional customer traffic, spending, and new business investment. This building is located right in the heart of the historic downtown area along Chrome Avenue. So this is the current condition of the building, just the front of it. I didn't include a picture of the back, but it has looked this way for several years with those signs in the window asking for leasing, and then you can see that they've been using that first bay, which is the largest one, for storage. So this is what it currently looks like, and this is what it could potentially look like. So this is a rendering that we had put together of just to kind of give an idea of what that spot may look like. This is not set in stone. This is just an idea to kind of get us to start thinking creatively about how nice that corner can look and how jazzed it could look. So this is another view of it. As you can see, we had them include a little twist on the outdoor dining. It's not tables on the sidewalk, but the chairs pulled up to the little dining area there. There are doors along the way, along the northern part of it, to where they can open up so you can have that indoor-outdoor feel as you're dining. So this is, again, just a rendering. The Chrome Marketplace name is just a place setter until you all come up with something more creative and exciting. And then this is what the back of the building could potentially look like. This is just on the north side of the building, so that would be facing west. So what are we asking? Staff is recommending that the CRA board approve CAR 3842, authorizing the issuance of a taxable tax increment revenue note in an amount not to exceed $4.5 million for the purpose of financing the acquisition, relocation, clearing construction, and/or rehabilitation of properties, the cost of issuance of the note, and other such activities authorized under the redevelopment plan, and awarding the note to Regions Commercial Equipment Finance, LLC, to provide the financing. We are also asking for the CRA board to approve CAR 3844, amending the adopted budget of the Community Redevelopment Fund by $4.5 million to account for the proceeds of the debt and to appropriate the use of these funds. So at this time, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Ms. Driver. Board members, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Driver, thank you for that presentation. Really like the way that rendering looked. It's getting me excited. I did want to ask, when are we scheduled to close on the property?
May 15th.
May 15th. Are we able to advertise something like an RFP for people to start already identifying what they could potentially bring or start vetting developers, or do we have to be owners of the property before doing that?
We have to have ownership of the property before we can do that, because at the time we release the RFP, we have to release what's called the 163 notice, the disposal of property for CRAs. So in order to do that, we have to have ownership of the property. But we can begin preparing that so that we can release soon after closing.
Okay, so let's say a developer wants to come in and they present a great idea that all of us seem to like. Could we assign the contract before closing? Let's just say we put some restrictions on what we'd like to see.
I don't believe, I'm going to have to defer to legal, because I don't think that we can, because of all the restrictions with CRA and how we have to dispose of property. That's like us committing something that we don't currently own yet, and I don't think that's allowed. Matt?
I'd have to look, I don't have the purchase sale agreements, and I have to go back and check most of them would have provisions dealing with assignability, and I couldn't answer that question definitively based on that right now.
Okay, so I'm assuming right now we're considering a P3 partnership with this property somewhere in the future.
Yes, yes, it would be it would be considered. I think it would be considered a P3 because of our contribution, and I'm trying to think of the P3 statutes just to make sure that, Matt, is that?
P3 gets thrown around. It's a term of art actually defined in the statute for particular developments that are really public, generally more public infrastructure type things. What if you're talking about partnering with somebody in the form of a lease or resale, with restrictions attached to the use of the property, those aren't statutory P3s, depending on the use and what it's for. So as this conversation evolves, and all that really impacts is the methodology with which we procure our partner. And so as that conversation evolves, it'll define how we go through that procurement process.
So can you provide me any examples that the city has had in the past that is a retail type of establishment, not any residential or mixed use or any of that thing? Does the city have any of that, or have they had any of those types of agreements?
It's a traditional P3 agreement?
No,
What,
let's just
I
forget
guess-
about the term P3
Okay,
for now.
Sure.
Let's just say we decide to go into some sort of agreement with an applicant or a developer, and they want to develop this retail food establishment. Does the city have any examples of doing that in the past?
For retail, not that I'm aware of. The garage, which is a typical P3 because it's a transportation project, and so that actually would fall towards that definition, had the retail component, but it was deemed to be ancillary to the primary use, which was transportation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Next, Board Member Avila.
Thank you. So how are we going to ensure the success of this endeavor? I hate to reference the absence of tenants at the nearby P3, and I still feel that unless we have residential components in our developments, we're lacking the bodies that these establishments need in order to thrive and to be successful. So what's the plan here overall? Thank you.
So we do currently have, there are two potential operators that have expressed sincere interest and understand our demographics down here and are willing to come in and be the first to be that catalyst. So that gives us confidence that this, unlike Homestead Station, where they are trying to lease 30,000 square feet and with multiple tenants, this one most likely will be one tenant. There may be multiple businesses inside there, but I think the leasing of it will be simpler because instead of trying to attract 5 or 6 different tenants, we only have one. And as I said, before we even thought that we should try to purchase this building, we did start putting feelers out to see how challenging it might be to get a tenant. As I said, we have 2 that are strongly interested right now.
Thank you, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you, Chairman. I daydream about that corner multiple times a day. I heard you mention, in case you don't know, I know that one well. I think it has incredible potential. I think that if we did really put our heart and work into something that was the heart of the downtown, I think that building has so much potential. You mentioned having 2 potential operators, and currently there are 2 bays that are being rented in that, or that's separate from that building?
So that property consists of 3 bays. There's only one tenant in there right now, and that's a church. The other 2 bays are empty. So the vision, we think the best use of that property would be to use it as one property, one activation. So we could easily take down walls that separate the bays. And so instead of having 3 bays, we have one large one.
Do you mind going back to the slide that shows the footprint?
Going to,
Okay, so the barber school is on the far right corner of this.
the barber school, right, just where the gray ends and you see the white, the barber school is over there.
Okay. And the other shop with the temporary banner on the top is not a current business? The Mellow,
Yeah,
No, and so it's
they've
not a
closed.
barber shop. There's,
closed.
yeah,
Okay.
Mello is closed. Currently, I'm sorry, inside the building is not the barber shop. Inside the building right now is the church.
okay,
There's a tenant at the northest end of that property. There's a church that's in there now. Mello was in the middle bay, and they have since moved out.
okay.
So just to clarify, the barber school is not part of this parcel.
Okay. And the next slide that shows the backside of the building, please. Just because this came up the other day, the parking lot there, this area here is incredibly overgrown all the time. So just if we can, just to see a picture of it, it just automatically looks so much better. If we could have a look at that, that would be great. So we could activate the back there as well?
You don't know, and I just feel Michelle's eyes peering in the back of my head right now. So we put the dream up there, and then we'll take it to the dream killer, and she'll tell it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
I like
teasing
that.
Michelle. We're friends. No, so that's the dream, and we will definitely find out what is allowed. You know, we'll stick within code and make sure that everything is allowable, but we couldn't pass up the opportunity of dreaming really big and making it look nice in the back there.
Yeah,
And that
there's-
lot is Atala's, that's
Right.
not ours, so
I know.
we need,
They just use it all the time to go to the dance studio, and it's
Yeah.
overgrown, and it's a risk for people don't want to park there because of the lighting. No, but by all means, go all out with the lights and the signage, so everybody knows where to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Fairclough.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Shriver, for this presentation. What I see here in my vision, and you know I love to dream big, Miami's southernmost food hall. This is a crave right now. We have them in Miami Beach, Wynwood, Miami's Little River, Doral, Sistrunk, and Fort Lauderdale. So this is hot right now. And I don't think we'll have an issue drawing people here. I really think it will be a destination. And I visited some of these food halls myself to kind of feel the energy and synergy, the vibe in the spaces, and it was palpable. And I think this would be definitely a catalyst, as you mentioned, a driver, a destination. I love the iteration. I haven't been able to say that in a while. I really, really like how it looks, how it presents, and I think it's very visually striking on that corner. And this is something that I've supported from the beginning, and I'm even more excited now. So I'm excited to move forward with this because this is definitely going to be a driver in our city.
Pardon the pun, right? A driver in our city. Vice Chair.
Ms. Driver, the parking lot in the back of the Paramount, what would we do with that?
leave it as a parking lot. That's what we would recommend, unless you have a different idea.
Can you
that's better.
pull it up? How would it be striped? I saw when you had the yellow outlines. I mean, well, I'm sure we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but
Help me. Sorry, I went the wrong
We're
direction.
thinking of the overhead shot,
go.
right?
yeah, that right there. That, okay. the apartments use that parking now, but then once it becomes nicely striped, it'll pertain to parking for this establishment, I'm assuming.
We look at it and figure it
All right.
out, and we'll do whatever code allows.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I said, we'll do whatever code allows.
So, I'm sorry, you finished? So if we purchase this parking lot, but that can't take away the spaces that this apartment building requires, right? Or would street parking count towards that?
I think the building has its own parking in the back there. There's small.
If I may, Kamisha, I know that some of the residents, either they or their visitors do use that lot. It's not part of their code required parking, it's additional. What we can do when we make the improvements, if it's public parking, they can still park there, obviously it's public, subject to whatever other restrictions that we might have there.
It'll just look a million times better. Thank you.
Board Member Roth, anything? Okay. Yeah, and on that parking angle, and through our due diligence, there's no lease agreement in effect with the apartment building. That's just casual use that we can potentially prohibit.
Nothing has come
Okay.
up in our search. That's a good question. I'll verify and make sure, but nothing has come up thus far.
Okay. I know in addition to the food hall concept, I know that there are others who have shown a well-established group with the financial ability that also have some visions that are, as they shared with me the first time they saw the building, that moved that corner facade inward to increase the outdoor dining area and just redo the whole facade to be able to utilize the opening, to increase the open area. And, so I think that, there are folks interested. And my point of saying that is right now, my personal opinion is that we need to get out of the business of buying and building bricks and mortar after this and let private capital and private market come in and do their thing and not be in competition with private spaces downtown. But having said that, when you think about the evolution of that side of Chrome Avenue from Lossner Park to the north, this would be a tremendous, it would fill out an entire block. And when we think about what's going in next to Jacobson's and then the Paramount building and its tenants, this would complete 2 full blocks on that one side of Chrome with some really, to create life and energy downtown. And this project, and to your point, Board Member Avila, how do we help ensure the success? This project is right up the alley of the decisions we made at the last meeting and the clarifications we had, that potentially there is county money available to offset county impact fees for the build-out of this parcel. We've allocated now in excess of $1.5 million for folks to help do build-outs. And we had the grease trap conversation and the venting systems, and those would stay with us. If the building, if that first user decided to move on, it would stay with us. And for me, this contract at its core allows us to, as we talked about, help determine our own destiny. We missed the boat on the Greenstone Motel. We missed the boat on the 4-8. Probably missed the boat on the potential church down here that used to be the Homestead Furniture Building. The building that's built to mimic here, down at the intersection of Washington and Mowry. So if nothing else, this is being very proactive and helping us attract and help install large-scale users that we want downtown, rather than having this broken up into 3 or 4 different ever-revolving storefronts that really add nothing to the vibrancy of downtown. But the last thing I want to say is, I know that if you listened to an audio of the meeting where we had some discussions about this, I know that Board Member Roth and I were very concerned about not buying a pig in a poke, not buying something that we didn't know what our exposure was. I understand we do know that a new roof is going to be about $140,000. And we did no other, because the interior due diligence of renovation for electrical and plumbing really has to do with the potential user. But I just want to say, I'm kind of disappointed. I thought that we all had an understanding that before we went past the day the deposit went hard, that those issues were going to come back to this board for us to consider whether or not to pull the trigger to go forward. And that did not happen. And, you know, we still don't know what we're going to be faced with to help somebody do the interior build out, or somebody's going to want the proverbial $1 a year rent so that they can do the electrical build out. There are a lot of positives here, but I'm not really pleased with the dismissiveness of our clear concerns that we understand going into this, or waive that understanding as to what the repairs were going to be. And I understand we're helping the church find an alternate location that, didn't I hear that? Okay. See,
That is
I
correct.
knew I heard
That's
it
part of the
somewhere. I didn't dream
relocation
it up.
that
Well, I
we're
was think-
required to with the relocation. And
Well,
the
I know.
estimate is $40,000 to relocate them.
Okay, because, you know, I don't want tremendous development to be hamstrung by any delays in being able to help to relocate that congregation. So, getting down to the nuts and bolts of the loan. You know, CRA has a certain amount of income that it has every year. How is the debt service and the repayment provisions of this loan going to impact your ability to fund other projects in years going forward?
So for the past 2 years, we've allocated $300,000 in our budget for debt service, anticipating that we were going to eventually be able to get this loan. So we are already managing our funds with that $300,000 in mind. What we are financing is just a little over $300,000, and we think that we'll be comfortable and still be able to do all the things that we're doing and more, because property values are going to increase and we're going to get more next year.
Absolutely, and that's the answer I wanted to hear. I didn't know what I was going to hear, but that's the perfect answer, that we're not going to contract or restrict what we've been doing up to this date by putting all of our eggs in this basket of this building. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think that with the right operator, this is going to be a real catalyst. I'm not a big fan of the dark gray in your renderings, and, you know, we'll let whoever we award this to determine to a certain extent what it looks like. But I'm anxious to get this out there. And so procedurally, let's say that one or both of the interested parties that some of us know about now, come in with an unsolicited proposal. I guess the next step would be is to put out the statutory notice.
Yes. Well, you have the minimum requirement, putting out the statutory notice. If there's something more robust, more restrictions, something more defined that you want, and you want to set up an RFP to treat it more like that, we can certainly do that in a way that satisfies the 163 requirements. But that'll be a policy decision. Once we receive them, I'm sure we'll do what we've traditionally done, bring them to you and seek direction on what it is you're looking for then.
But
if you have some specificity, you know, minimum requirements, whether it's capital contributions, whatever structure you want, then we can include that in the procurement.
Right, but yeah, certainly not tailor the statutory notice to a preferred proposal. But I guess my point or my question is that in the context of the expedited statutory notice for CRA-owned property, we can build in more detailed terms as we would typically find in an RFP, but within a shorter time frame. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, the statutory requirement is 30 days. And it's regardless of the structure of the deal. So again, if you want to say you're looking for a partner who's interested in a long-term lease as opposed to a purchase, then that's something you can include in a 163.
Okay.
Whether you want to establish specific scoring criteria, then you're leaning more towards an RFP, which would be noticed in a similar way to the, as the 163 notice would.
Right, and the closing date that we have now, I mean, that's probably not able to expedite it much because we have to now go, once we get this resolution, we go close the loan and then, or have a simultaneous loan closing with the closing on the purchase.
At this point, we can't close before May 15th because we still have the county piece. So we have to go before the county, and so that's why. But once we have the county's final stamp of approval, we can close whenever
Okay.
we're ready.
And that's scheduled for
It goes before committee tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be, yeah.
Very
tomorrow.
good. So I guess somebody will be looking for me to sign a resolution tonight, right?
And just for point of reference, after it goes before committee, it has to go before the BCC.
Right, very good. Right, you council, board member Fairclough.
Yes, I just have something minor, aesthetically. The parking lot, can we ensure that it sort of mirrors the building? I wouldn't want to see anything like a chain link fence, but there should be something, that connects and that's visually appealing, in that space. Probably some type of estate fencing or like wooden panel enclosure, but something like really high-end, top tier that mirrors the concept of the building.
We can definitely look into that, and then we're also, have to resurface and put lighting there as well. So as we're, looking at that, we can make sure that it mirrors what we're putting on Chrome.
Thank you.
Good, very good point, thank you, board member Fairclough. Any public comment on this item? Let's get Mr. Kraft a microphone. And while we're doing that, board member Roth would like to weigh in.
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of things. Actually, can you put that picture back up for a second? And then while we're doing that, this will be a CRA property. The CRA will own this property, right? So you talked about you had already fixed into your budget $300,000 a year to cover the expense of the note, right? What are your forecasts and expectations on rental revenue on the property?
We don't have a forecast as far as the revenue, rental revenue. I think that that's part of the negotiation with whichever tenant that you all select and whatever they propose. So it was really difficult to try to forecast because, as Mayor said, maybe it's a dollar a lease for a couple of years. Maybe it's full market right out the gate. It's really hard to determine.
Right, no, I understand that, but this is a 20-year commitment to the project, so I would imagine that you had some thought as to, over the 20 years, what the potential rents would be on this property. Market rent probably on that is $18 to $22, $23 a square foot. So at let's say $20 a square foot, 18,000 square feet, you're probably at about $360,000 a year in market rate rent. So I understand the concessions at the beginning. They're going to have to invest some money to bring this thing up to thing. So if you've already budgeted at $300,000 and you collect $360,000 a year, I mean, that gives potential for earmarking that money for other stuff in the community, even maybe reinvesting it into the conversations we had, prior, was the grease traps and those types of businesses that we want to come into. And then the plan for the new sidewalks that will be coming in, looking at this picture here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 6 or 7 parking spaces along Chrome Avenue. And just as a thought, I don't see where, in some cases, we could remove some of the vegetation to expand the sidewalk out. Could we eliminate those parking spaces along Chrome? There's only 7 spaces, and create more of a view. I mean, when I sit on the sidewalk, I don't like to look at parked cars, to change the aesthetics of what's there if we're going to expand that out to allow for sidewalk eating and vending and stuff like that. So just this, something to think about in the future, because we control Chrome Avenue at this point from, I think, 8th Street to 8th Street, right? 8th Street to 8th Street, is that what it is? So we may be able to create that atmosphere, expand that sidewalk, so there's more room for people to walk by, plus there's more room for people to enjoy a meal sitting on that area there. So those are just my thoughts.
Well, and certainly, let's assume that those parking spaces go with that building. When we are acquiring more than 7 parking spaces over here to go with that building,
Right.
you've got a plus. So that there is the potential there to reposition the vegetation and kind of realign the footprint there.
No, I'm excited about this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kraft.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. That idea with the outdoor seating, it could work, but with the current traffic we have on Chrome Avenue, we still have heavy traffic there with trucks and semi-trucks and stuff like that. I don't think many people would like to sit and eat their food when they are basically surrounded by diesel smoke. One thing. Another thing, I totally love the idea of what Comitra has come up with, but when we add more, what you would say, stores, not stores, but businesses that require people coming to town to sit and eat, dine, and drink, and what have you, or what have you not, that will also demand a bigger police force. And we only increase the police force with 4, 5, 6 personnel a year. So that being said, we will need a stronger police person in that area, because a lot of unwanted things happens in that area after dark. And in order to attract people who want to unwind and sit and relax and be able to put their purse next to them or something like that, they need to have a safe environment, and that means we need to have a stronger police person down there. Are we taking that into consideration, or are we just talking about doing this here? Because then it's just talk, but we need to think all those things truly. Or what about making Chrome a pedestrian street, which has surfaced at one point, but never been finally discussed? Thank you.
Thank you. What do you mean tractor-trailer traffic? That sign that says no trucks at Campbell keeps everybody
I
out.
see them every day, and I can take pictures for you.
I could share pictures with you, too. It's a lot better than it used to be. Now, not diminishing your accurate statement that we've got to continue to expand our law enforcement personnel. Remember, empty and brightly lit and vibrant streets push away those bad things that happen downtown when we have empty storefronts and darkness. So let's keep that in mind as well. Yes, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you, Chairman. The idea about the sidewalks, 100%, we need to. For the walkability, I think that's a great idea. And just after thinking a little more about the parking lot, that we want to have that business accessible, I think we need to think equally about the other surrounding businesses. Make sure that Paramount and the other storefronts there on Chrome would be able to utilize it as well. Not that it was only for that one corner business. I think that we need to keep in mind, please. Not that they have to park. And although it's a relatively small parking lot, remember then it's still just a short walk across Losner Park to the parking garage, so that doesn't limit us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Since I think this is your council district, would you like to make the motion? Yes, I'm sorry. All right, go ahead, and then Councilman Fletcher. All right, moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by Board Member Fletcher, who has a question or comment.
Just a comment. So I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic moving this forward tonight, mainly to the fact that you have a lot on your plate. We have the triangle piece of property that we're trying to look for. The old city parking lot still hasn't come to fruition as of yet, and we've been working on that for 3 years. You know, we still have infill lot houses and parcels that we're working on. So I'm going to support because I think it's time to try and do something downtown to bring those folks back. As you all know, I have kind of been the guy on the sidelines, not really in favor of the plan for downtown because I think we failed to follow a process for the last 30 years. So whatever we do, we have to make sure we stay laser focused on downtown. And the visioning session is scheduled for when again?
You mean with Mr. Valle?
Yes.
We met with him, I want to say it was last week, and we're going to be scheduling the individual meetings with you all over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Again, just another area for us to look at and help drive that entire process for downtown. But a lot of work to do, a lot of things on the table, and just not seeing anything come to fruition yet. That's the struggling part I have with this. But we'll look forward to supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any further public comment? I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk for a roll call vote, please.
Board Member Fletcher,
Yes.
Board Member Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Board Member Roth,
Yes.
Board Member Avila,
Yes.
Board Member Bailey,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Guzman,
Yes.
Chairman Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is tab 3, car number 3844, fiscal year CRA budget amendment for $4.5 million in loan proceeds. Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tab 3 is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an amendment to the Community Redevelopment Agency budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023 and directing the city manager or his designee to submit the budget amendment to Miami-Dade County and to the City Council for their respective approvals to the extent required, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Driver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This budget amendment is necessary to account for the proceeds of the debt and to appropriate the uses of the funds as described above. Staff recommends that the CRA Board approve the attached resolution to amend the adopted budget of the Community Redevelopment Fund by $4.5 million to account for the proceeds of the debt and to appropriate the use of these funds.
Thank you. Any final questions or comments from this board? Any public comments? Moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by the Vice Chairman. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Bailey, Board Member Roth,
Yes.
Board Member Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Board Member Avila, Board Member Fletcher,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Guzman,
Yes.
Chairman Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right. Anything further from the members of the board? Anything from the director?
Sir?
No announcement about funding from Minority Builders Coalition? Didn't they
Minority-
get awarded $1 million to do our project? Minority Builders?
Yes, Minority Builders Coalition, they will receive a construction loan from South Florida Regional Planning Council to construct the 4 homes on our lots over in the Southwest neighborhood. And the groundbreaking ceremony is scheduled tentatively for June 20th. We're making sure that they are be ready for that time, and then also checking with you all schedule to make sure that you're available on that date as well. So yeah, it is good news. They're excited and they're ready to rock and roll.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, anything further for this board?
No, Mayor.
Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, just a moment, and we will have to move into our special call agenda very quickly, which is, bottom line, just a ratification of the meeting we just held, sitting as the CRA board. Ready, Madam Clerk? Ready? Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. I'd like to call to order the City of Homestead Special Call City Council meeting. It is now 7:30 p.m. Let's have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth,
Here.
Councilman Fletcher,
Here.
Councilwoman Bailey, Councilwoman Avila,
Here.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers.
Here.
Vice Mayor Guzman.
Here.
Mayor Losner.
Here. All right. Our first item is the first reading of tab 1, which is car number 3852, authorizing a CRA tax increment revenue note, taxable series 2023, in the amount of $4,500,000. Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 1 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the issuance by the Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency of its tax increment revenue note, taxable series 2023, in the principal amount not to exceed $4.5 million for the purpose of financing the cost of acquisition, relocation, clearing, construction, and/or rehabilitation of properties and other redevelopment activities permitted under the Act, and paying costs of issuance of the note in accordance with the requirements of Chapter 163, Part 3, Florida statutes as amended, confirming the delegation to the Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency the powers permitted by the Act, which were delegated to the City Council by a Miami-Dade County Commission under the interlocal agreement, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council? None appearing. I'll open the floor for public comment. I'll close the public comments and ask for a motion for approval of this item. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey. Yes. Councilman Robb.
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers.
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila. Vice Mayor Guzman.
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, Mr. Pearl, tab 2.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 2 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budget for the Community Redevelopment Agency Fund for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, by increasing the total budgeted revenues and expenditures by $4.5 million, providing for severability and an effective date.
Thank you, Ms. Driver. Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Shift brains.
Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached ordinance to amend the adopted budget for the Community Redevelopment Fund from $4,500,000 to account for the proceeds of the debt and to appropriate the use of these funds.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Any public comments? I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Vice Mayor Guzman, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers.
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher.
Yes.
Councilman Robb.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey.
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman.
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carried.
Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Manager?
No, Mayor.
Anything further for this special call meeting? We have a motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. The special call meeting is adjourned, and we will roll into the main attraction, the Committee of the Whole, in just a moment. Ready? Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April 11th, 2023, and it is now 7:35 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Fletcher. Here. Councilwoman Bailey. Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers.
Here.
Councilman Robb.
Here.
Councilwoman Avila.
Here.
Vice Mayor Guzman.
Here.
Mayor Losner.
Here. Mr. Manager, any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. I'll give you some background on our first presentation, car number 3875. This is just an experience with public art. And to tell you the truth, we've been trying to coordinate schedules and get this presentation for at least the last 90 days. A lot has transpired with our public art committee and those activities in that interim, but I want to credit Susan Sortino with bringing our presenter to my attention, and I think it's still a good idea to get the call to artists, the production, the dealing with a city and its art fund, or a government entity with its art fund, from the perspective of an artist who has successfully participated. He's not here to promote himself, but just to kind of talk about to us about his experience and what it means to be on the other side. So with that, you will come forward and introduce yourself, and we've got your presentation loaded and ready to go. Welcome, and again, our apologies for the delay this evening.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. And by the way, I'm so sorry for the last time I couldn't come. I was out of town in a national conference of ceramics that it happened once a year. It's just I had to go every year. I'm sorry. Here? Yeah. Perfect. Okay. I am not accustomed to use microphones, but that would be okay. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Losner, because I really appreciate the opportunity that you're giving to me to present my experience with public art. A little bit of about myself. I am a Cuban-born artist. I got my education and my early career in Cuba. I came in 2010 to this country, moved to this country, and I'm teaching at the University of Miami since 2014. I am a professor of ceramics and sculpture, and I teach the class figure in clay that is pretty much related with my expertise, that is on representing the human figure in clay, 3D in general. I want to present few images of my work, just to give you a context of what I have done, and then I'm going to move to give you my experience on how is the process of a commission from an artist perspective, but also I'm going to show you a little bit of what is the process of making a sculpture in bronze. So this is a sculpture that's in Spain, in Tenerife. It's a monument. It's a bust portrait. It included this pedestal, and I have done several of these type of commissions. Of course, probably the most significant one is this one. The monument to President Reagan, and I made this sculpture in 2018. And you can see that it's a component of two life-size figures, the president and the horse, and also it's also this conceptual approach to the base and figures on top. There are some example of the portrait itself, and a full view of the piece. So a few more pieces that I have done for Miami-Dade County Art in Public Places office, like last one, this one, and the next one are part of this program. These two bust portraits are located in Hialeah. And this is not related with the human representation, but I included because it's another major sculpture that I made for the city of the town of Medley. And it was really an interesting way to display what they wanted as a representation of the city in front of the city hall. So some example of the private commissions. If I get some public commission with related with the representation of the human figure, it's basically because of my background making all these portraits, where I have mastered my abilities of representing the subject. So a little bit about the commissions right now. First, I wanted to mention a few things. So what is the artist's role in a commission? So the expectation for the artist's role is to design and execute an original artwork. But also, we have to be to understand that the artist is the ultimate responsible for the entire project. So it's kind of a project manager of everything. So it's not going. The artist is not going to make everything, but it's going to be supervising that everything has to be made in the way that it's supposed to be. Then the fabricator could be one or multiple. Sometimes even the artist can be a fabricator, but the fabricator is that person that has the means to fabricate an artwork. In particular, for bronze pieces, you need a foundry. So you don't find artists who own foundries. It's not frequent. And of course, the client expectation. The client is the most important part of this, because what happens is that the client make the commission guidelines that it have to be followed for everyone, and they also present or bring the project manager from the city, the county, or whoever institution. That person will be making sure that everything is going on budget. It's going to be trying to respect all the rules and laws of the place where the sculpture will be located. So, at the beginning of the commission, we have to, as an artist, we have to understand the proposal, the scope of the project, and then we have to come out with an idea. I wanted to talk a little bit of, in this case, of the Ronald Reagan monument, because that is a good example of how things can be treated in a different way. The guideline basically said that they wanted to present the equestrian park, and they wanted a realistic representation of the President Reagan. There are different ways to tackle this commission. You can really charge it with politics, or you can just try to present a little bit more than the relationship that that character had with the horses. And I tried to go in that way because it was about the equestrian park introduction, and then about the president. How you can establish that dialogue? Well, I did it in the way that I put that interaction between the man and the horse, and I create these 3 levels that allow this platform people to claim, to photograph, to interact with the sculpture, but at the same time, from the distance, it's in a pedestal because it's almost 6 feet tall. So it's elevated, but it's accessible at the same time. That was my approach for a commission that it was not technically giving me that much room to do my own type of sculpture. Then, of course, you have to deliver a digital model or maquette with a good render. And so initial measurements, location. In the location, the artist has to really present in his or her point of view what is the direction that the piece will be located. Because the same piece, if it's turned, it can signify something different. So, and of course, a preliminary budget. This is, I did not put numbers here, but more or less is the way that I have I divided. And that changed from an artist to artist, but in general, these are the most important divisions that we need to put in a preliminary budget. So, if the commission is approved, the artist get the commission, and the first steps is to do a really strong research. You don't do some field call for a very strong research. if I have done people who have lived like many years, centuries ago, that is, you don't have that much information about those people. But like the President Reagan, everybody knows, even the young generation knows because visually it's around us all the time. So you don't want it to, I had to decide what the age, the proper age to represent him. And I had to decide the expression that I wanted to represent him. There was so many things that it had to be done. And then that implied really a strong study on how to bring that information to clay. Then you see there, it's a little bit of the process of from this initial styrofoam cut to a clay and then the final piece. You see another example at the bottom. More examples, you see how at some point I separated the head, that is the most important. I just work individually and then I work with the body and then I combine all of them at the end. So, and now we bring, before going to the fabricator, we bring the project manager or the person in charge of the commission, like the client, to approve that model. If everybody agrees, that's what everybody likes, then we move it to the fabricator. The fabricator in this case is casting, is going to cast in bronze the sculpture. The first step is to have to make a mold. That mold is a rubber mold with a plaster exterior, and it's used basically to be cast in wax. So you pour wax inside, and you get the first model in wax that will be used to cast in bronze. This technique is called the lost wax. It's a very old technique of casting with bronze, but it's really perfect. It's good. So you have to bring the artist. The artist cannot be away in this process. As soon as the wax is ready, the artist has to be back into the foundry and really clean that piece. If something goes wrong, it is wrong, and it goes into the bronze, it's very difficult to fix. Wax is still fixable. So that's the first step. The first step, and then that wax, it gets bathed on something that is called ceramic shell. It's a ceramic product that is going to make a strong mold that it will be able to capture the bronze. And you see how that ceramic shell also have to be fired in a kiln for two reasons: to make the clay permanent, but at the same time to remove the wax. And then the magic happens. So they melt the bronze and then pour it inside of those molds. And then that's what you have when the mold, the piece is just casted. It's just not beautiful at that point, to be honest. But it is really a very emotional moment when you just chisel out that ceramic shell. And of course, all the pieces have to be cast in part, so all the parts go to the factory line, and then they have to be assembled. And when they finish their job, usually you can ask as an artist to get a sandblaster first. Then the artist has to go back and check everything. You don't allow the final patina, final touch without the presence of the artist. And normally I spend days, not hours, days in working on this part. And then, of course, the final patina happen, and everything get connected. All the structure at the bottom get welded, and you see that the final piece for the very first time. But this is not the only process. What happened was foundation and base. It happened parallel. You have to hire a general contractor. You have to hire a design and engineer a company, a surveying. You need permission. You need drawing. You need. So that have to happen from one side, and then the artists have to be also to have to take care of that process is running at the same time. And then the aeronautic contractor have to move forward and build the base or foundation. Sometimes the base is visible, or sometimes it's invisible, but still you need something. And I know that probably you know more than me about that part. And then, of course, is the final assembling, and you get the unveiling ceremonies. That is the crucial moment that everybody get happy. And as an artist, we get like, oh my God, really? I have to sleep at least 3 days after I finish one of these projects. And I have just a really short video, 2 minutes, just for, if you can watch this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Stay right there.
Yes.
As the guy that can't draw a straight line with a ruler, I am enthralled by anyone with any artistic ability at
Thanks.
all. The end of your video there proved one point again. It's not the focus of the picture, but it's what you see in the background. There's some guy riding a giant chicken in the background. So what in the world was that? You didn't see that? It was a big rooster with like a Greek god riding a 6-foot-tall rooster.
At the foundry, and the foundry has so many sculptures.
Okay, that wasn't yours. Okay.
No, that was not mine.
So, a couple of my takeaways here was you mentioned early on that you were kind of constrained in your ability to be somewhat creative with the Reagan statue for the park. So, should we infer from that the looser a call to artists is the more options we'll receive and get the full benefit of an artist's creativity rather than being so constraining in a given call to artists?
Let me give you a word on that. There are different type of art in public places commissions. There are some when you can ask for general idea, very general probably theme, and then you allow the artist the opportunity to bring their own practice in their own style in the proposal, and then at the end you have like certain collection of identifiable work of determined artists. However, there are other type of commission like this one that are more specific, where everybody have like a certain clear picture of what the city of the place wants, and the artist need to become a translator, a service to the community, to find the opportunity to help the people that cannot make with their hands that work and do it for them. And you have to really leave a little bit your ego and try to present yourself as a service. And it's good because at the end it's your work, it's not anyone else. But some people have a little bit of trouble in doing so.
Appreciate that. And I think that I perceive that most of us up here were intrigued by the, and I would call it abstract piece that you did for Medley. Can you
Okay.
talk to us about, what were their marching orders? How did that piece come to be, or what they were looking for when you designed that piece?
Okay, yes. It was a call. I remember that the final selection, we were like 8 artists at that meeting, and they were explaining the vision they wanted to present for the city of Medley, for the town of Medley. They wanted to create an alternative cluster for a new development. They eliminate the top of the limit in the building height, and they wanted to create a small downtown over there with a lot of companies. So with that vision, what I did was to present the map of Medley itself. I did not make anything except to take their map and then just bend that map as if we're rising toward the sky. And I chose the stainless steel because they wanted to present the city as the city of the future. So, and it kind of, when you see it from the distance, say, what is this? It's for NASA, but well, that's what they wanted in the first place to be presented in that way. So that was my proposal. And again, I was not that creative. I just took the map of the city. I was lucky to get a map that made me, it was Okeechobee allowed me to do that because Okeechobee cut the city of Medley in diagonal. But it was just pure luck.
Good thing. Council, any questions or comments for Mr. Prado? Councilman Roth.
Thank you. The Reagan piece was stunning, absolutely stunning. And if you didn't have any numbers up there, but and I want to kind of pry a little bit, but if we were to think about a piece that large, ballpark figure, don't give away what you actually did, but what would it cost?
Well, that piece was done in 2018 with the prices related to that time. Well, technically, the contract was closed in 2016. It cost at that time 160,000. That was at the end. I think something went up, but I did not have to pay for for that.
Yeah, and to me, looking at that piece as a bargain, you know, with your talent and what your vision was of what Reagan was, and I think in that one you said your hands were somewhat tied to the creativity that you would have brought to that sculpture. You know, when I look at art, it's always more of a reflection of the artist itself and their vision of what a piece should look like and their interpretation of it. Obviously, when you're dealing with 7 people, if we make a decision to purchase something, you're going to have to deal with 7 different thought processes, plus your own. But I'm more on, I lean more to allowing the artist to express themselves when they create pieces like that. And when I saw the Reagan piece, I was like, I mean, that was, to me, that was stunning. I mean, that was a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Thank you. I wanted to mention that it's one of those pieces that you have to be very serious in when you are making it, because you have an extreme responsibility of representing someone of that height, because if you do not represent it well and it looks like caricature, it could be really a political problem in the community.
No, congratulations.
So that's why I think I was very careful and I worked very hard to make it. I mean, I don't remember really well Ronald Reagan when I was a young, imagine living in Cuba. So, but I tried to document myself. I mean, I had like at least 100 images of him. The image only from that age that I represent him. So.
It was stunning, and congratulations. That's a beautiful, beautiful piece. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it.
Councilwoman Alva.
Thank you, Mayor. Absolutely beautiful. I have a new appreciation for this art form. I always loved, this type of art, but had no idea the depth of the amount of work. A question regarding the maintenance that would be involved and the durability of the piece, and how should we plan? And then before you answer that, what was the time frame from getting the contract to unveiling?
2016, 2 years, more or less. 2 years, yeah. Maybe a little bit less, but it was more or less over there. Okay, that's very important. That's another issue that I am always trying to, to push to help my sculpture to be preserved. Right now, I'm not that happy. I think that we lost part of the patina of the Ronald Reagan because they haven't been maintained. But that's something that can be recovered very quickly. It's not structural, so it's kind of, but it takes work to do. It takes money to pay someone to do it. But if they're bronze, if you get a company that comes once a year to clean it properly and reapply wax, it lasts forever. And that is not that costly because you don't need to do, it's not a process where it required machinery in any means. So, except if something happened of, I don't know, a vandalism. But if for the natural causes, bronze lasts. Even sometimes it grows a natural, what the patina do is just create an oxidation, accelerated oxidation, but sometimes you get the natural oxidation, it looks nice, but sometimes it doesn't, so you have to maintain it. That's it, but it's not that costly.
Thank you. And if there was an act of violence, or if there was or vandalism or a storm, that knocks it over, how would that be repaired? Do you have to come out and do it in place? Do we have to ship it to you? Is it a brand new one?
That do not be part of the warranty that as an artist we do. It's like, and it just depends, because if it's something small, can be repaired by the fabricator. They know how to recast like a small part and attach it. But if it's something big, they have to be, we have to make the sculpture again. But I doubt it. I don't know. I feel that have been safe. Nothing have happened from that piece. And
you. And has there been any advances in technology that help expedite the pieces to come out sooner, or was it a 2-year process because of the size
That's
of this
interesting.
piece?
No, I think that the just depend of the fabricator. The most important is to find a fabricator that it doesn't have that many pieces in front. So if in that we don't have that many in town, to be honest. And I work with one that have the best technology. That's another thing. I prefer to work with the one that they have delivered my previous work, and he had a lot of work. Sometimes I get the opportunity. I mean, it's Asus bronze, and they are very serious. And sometimes they it depends what type of product they have. They can put it in between my pieces. But a big project, it required a really to be placed in a right schedule. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just echo the same thing, just incredibly talented. I have one question, and that's regarding your thought process on the base of it. You mentioned something about it being accessible when a lot of times we see ropes and fences around things. So this piece was meant for people to walk up and touch it, and
yes, it is. The platform I designed in such a way that you can climb it easily because it's in a slope, and then one side of the platform, the steps are fairly small, easy to climb. You don't have it. They are just a little bit, but a little bit more than the regular ladder steps. So you can climb, and then you can walk. There is, and each platform has grass. So that invite people to. It's just part. It's an invitation in general to move and to claim and to see, because I think one of the, if people like the figure, it's nice for them to be able to take a picture with the sculpture. It's literally exactly life size. So I calculate. I mean, I did my research. What was the height? Plus the shoes, and then everything is like that as close as possible as the natural. But on the other hand, it's still height. So.
no, I appreciated that really very much. I want to say now, 4 years ago, in Atlanta, there was a bronze statue of James Brown, and there was a little sign there that said, if you text this number, it would send you a picture of you with that statue. And I thought that was so neat. You still remember? I'm waiting for the company that does that. Yeah, because it's art. Art has to be. You have to be able to touch it, and I really love that you said that. And you don't see any big difference in the maintenance of it with having visitors come right up to it.
No, I'm not there every day. I just pass by, but I don't see that many visitors whatsoever.
It's
only
a strong
for
enough finish.
on occasions. No, it's a place where the tropical park doesn't have that much foot traffic. The tropical park people go with their car inside exactly where they want it to be, and then they don't really walk through the entrance to the tropical park. So the people who have been there are only the ones who wanted to visit the monument. Other than that, that's why I don't see any. Some bronze pieces that are located in places in like the middle of downtown, something like that. If people just touch one area, it gets really, really bright. But that's not the case. It's not.
It's worth it. It's worth the small change. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing this all with us.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Prado. That was amazing work. What I noticed is, while you were telling the story behind the process, it really brought everything to life for me, because I saw the pictures and I saw that they were nice works, but listening to the passion behind your story and the process really brings it out. So the question I have for this body is, when we do the call to artists, we're going to have these type of presentations from every artist, right? And I think it might need to be one full meeting just for the call to artists. But yeah, I've been to other countries and I've seen bronze, and they don't have the detail that yours has.
Thank you.
Very, very, very nice. And I'm extremely impressed by your work and looking forward to seeing more of it in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I mean, truly amazing the details that go into this type of work. You know, beauty's different to everybody, art's different to everyone. You know, I tend to look at, you know, treescapes and things of that nature as my favorite type things, but at the same token, you see something like this and it makes you think a little differently. So, you know, arts, each and every one has their own little idea about it. Looking forward to moving this forward very quickly, and I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Councilwoman Fairclough-Stagger.
Yes, I was just sitting there processing. This, I think, has given me a greater appreciation for the bronze statue, because initially it didn't resonate with me, but as you kind of outlined the process, as Vice Mayor Guzman said, it was striking for me. So I really appreciate that. My question to you is, I know you work at the University of Miami.
Yeah.
Have you working with children in like high school, middle school? Have you done any presentations in local schools?
No, well, I would say no, but I did my first one for my daughters. I had to go for this day when the parent had to.
The career day?
Yeah, it kind of was kind of my first experience ever with kids. She's 5 years old, so
Oh my
imagine
goodness, that was
it's
interesting.
the span of attention of 5 years. But I did something very simple. I brought a small wheel and pottery wheel, and then showed them how to do bases technically. I mean, it was really fun, but that's my only experience with the kids.
Okay.
I taught in Cuba at the university level for 10 years, and then I have been teaching here at that level since, yeah.
Well, you truly have a gift, and thank you so much for sharing that gift with us. I love it.
One final comment, Councilwoman, I'm so happy to hear your turnaround on the bronzes. I know. Yeah. But kind of to the point, kind of from springboarding from a conversation we had last week, I want to thank you for showing that any kind of art can be interactive. Doesn't have to have light, doesn't have to have water, that the base, the setting, the surroundings, that, you know, in each artist's eye, they want people to interact with their art. So it's not just a statue, it's not just a fountain, it's not just the abstract stainless map, that in various degrees it can all be interactive. And I think that, you know, as we're going to go forward tonight with some agenda items for art, I don't think your presentation could have been any better timed or more timely. And I want to thank Ms. Sorrentino for coordinating your presentation. And we hope to see you here in our chambers again, presenting some of your proposals for our community. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right, we have before us tab 2, approval of the March 14th, 2023 Committee of the Whole minutes. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Vice Mayor Guzman. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is tab 3. It's a motion to place car number 3851 on the council agenda, the bus rapid transit stop names. Mr. Manager. Talk about making a big deal.
Hey, Matt, you want to read the resume?
Tab 3.
I can. And it's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, memorializing the city's preferences for the naming of the bus rapid transit system stops along the South Day Transitway within the city, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Very good. Okay, the county just wanted us to memorialize by resolution our preference of names. So do we have a motion to so resolve? Moved by Councilwoman Avila, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Close the public hearing. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilman Roth, Councilwoman Bailey, Councilwoman Avila, Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman,
Yes.
Mayor Lawson.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Tab 4, motion to place car number 3867 on the council agenda. This is a Community Development Block Grant CARES Act CDBG-CV DEO in the amount of $502,061. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. In 2021, the State of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity announced the availability of coronavirus aid, relief, and economic security funds for Florida entitlement communities. Funded through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the City of Homestead's share of CARES Act funds is $502,061. These funds are in addition to CARES Act's fundings allocated directly to the city through HUD. To receive these additional Department of Economic Opportunity funds, the city had to apply to the DEO through their application portal. On March 21st, 2023, the city received the agreement from the state for execution. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to accept the grant subaward of $502,061 from the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity to fund public service assistance activities and economic development activities. The activities include small business assistance, $206,897, housing and utility assistance, $245,000, vaccine efforts, $10,000, and administration, $40,164. Once the agreement is executed, the city will seek to amend the project activities and request an extension.
Thank you, sir. Council, questions, comments? All right, we have a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Avila, seconded by Vice Mayor Guzman. I'll open the floor for public comments. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth, Councilwoman Avila, Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey, Councilman Fletcher, Vice Mayor Guzman, Mayor Lawson.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is motion to place car number 3843 on the council agenda. The Florida Municipal Power Association Homestead Solar Project participation. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Homestead encourages the development of renewable energy resources within the state of Florida and desires to serve its electric customers with clean, reliable, affordable energy resources that include a mix of renewable energy resources, and as a member of the Florida Municipal Power Agency is eligible to participate in the potential FMPA Solar Energy Project 3. This agreement will allow the City of Homestead to purchase an additional 10 megawatts of energy from the Florida Municipal Power Agency Solar Project 3. This, coupled with the existing 15 megawatts of energy from the Miami-Dade County Waste-to-Energy Plant and 5 megawatts of solar from the FMPA Solar Project 2, would meet approximately 25% of the city's total power capacity needs through renewable resources at excellent prices. The pricing of $45 per megawatt hour or less can be compared to the city's current average price for purchased power of $66.93 per megawatt hour. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the binding commitment of the City of Homestead to participate in the Florida Municipal Power Agency Solar Project 3, authorizing the city manager to execute the related agreements, including the agreement in substantially the form attached. Participation is contingent upon the cost per megawatt hour of $45 or less.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. This is just tremendous. That the technology that others have invested in on a large scale can benefit us here. Where is this project? Is it the one that's out here off of Chrome, or is this upstate somewhere? Do we know?
All I got was Central Florida.
Okay. I just recently saw the, I don't know, 1,000-acre solar farm that straddles I-10 outside of Lake City and Live Oak, and I know there are others up in that area. To our utilities director, do we anticipate that more of this type of capacity is going to be coming our way in the coming months or short years?
Good evening.
Pull the mic down. There you go.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Florida Municipal Power Agency, we do have a representative on the phone with us, Susan Schuman, and she's able to talk about projects through FMPA. But I know FMPA is actively continuing to look for these types of projects for the members. So this is the latest one that's in the work, and we are, of course, hoping that council will approve us participating in this project. But yes, they're always actively looking for these types of projects for the members.
And it seems in traveling that these solar fields are being installed throughout the state and elsewhere, that we could avail ourselves of this and wean ourselves off of these higher purchase power contracts that are fossil fuel based or so forth. So this is great news for us as a provider, for the environment, and certainly ultimately our customers. That is a tremendous differential in the cost per megawatt hour compared to some of the other contracts that when we entered into them, we thought they were, and they were, you know, relatively speaking, they were real bargains. But this is a really good example of the evolution of the efficiency and economy of this type of renewal, and I really appreciate everyone's efforts in bringing this. It's kind of like the methane plant. Sign us up. More, please. Council? Moved by Councilman Roth. Sure, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Quinones, in this report, it says $45 megawatt hour, and the average that we have with the other purchase power agreements, are they around $63, $65?
Currently, yes.
And do we know when those agreements are set to expire?
We have a variety of different dates for expiration. Some of them are, I believe, 2027, some in 2030. So
Do we have 5 agreements out there? 3 agreements?
we have about 6 agreements.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, it's been moved. Second by the Vice Mayor. Anything further from council? Any public comments? All right, let's have a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey, Vice Mayor Guzman,
Yes.
Mayor Losner,
Yes.
motion.
Thank you. Next item, Mr. Manager, motion to place car number 3839 on the agenda, which is a request for a waiver of usage fees.
Thank you, Mayor. Homestead Rodeo Association is requesting that mayor and council authorize the city manager to approve a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $340 for the use of the Harrisfield Pavilion in order to host their Denim and Diamond Dinner and Auction fundraiser event. The event will take place on Saturday, May 20th, 2023, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. The Denim and Diamonds Dinner and Auction fundraiser event is for an exceptional group of young ladies that are planning to pursue the Florida state title of Miss Rodeo Florida. The dinner and auction will allow these young ladies to raise funds to cover expenses for their year, not only for the Miss Rodeo Homestead Court, but for transportation and lodging at the Miss Rodeo Florida pageant.
Thank you. Is that a typo? Because I recently underwrote the usage fees for another event coming up, and they were significantly more than that.
The pavilion as well?
For the CCA event at the pavilion. It was like 800.
Depends if they're nonprofit, profit, the time that they're there as well.
Very good. I will, I'll personally take care of this item.
Thank-
Right, thank you. Moving on. All right. Tab 7. I have to slow down a little bit. You know, it's way too early for us to be finishing up here. We do need a motion to extend to 9 o'clock. All right, we have a motion to extend to 9. Seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, tab 7. This is a motion to place car number 3801 on the council agenda, amendment to the Department's grant contract. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through Resolution R 2021-0884, the Mayor and Council approved a grant award from the Department of Children and Families in the amount of $77,747. The grant award funded the salary of a Homestead Police detective in order to investigate cases of domestic, dating violence, and stalking in collaboration with victim advocates. In July of 2022, the Mayor and Council approved an amendment to the grant contract, which increased the grant award to $116,620 with an ending date of December 31st, 2022. The current amendment will extend the grant award until June 30th, 2023, and will increase the total grant award to $155,494. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution, accepting the amendment to the Department of Children's and Family Grant Contract and authorizing the city manager to enter into an amended agreement to extend the grant contract until June 30th, 2023, and increasing the grant award to $155,494. This grant requires $19,436.75 in matching funds.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council? Comments? Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Mr. Manager, I'm looking back in my notes, and I just haven't seen an update lately of all the grants. I think we were going to do that quarterly, if I remember correctly.
Yes, believe Pan sent that out last week, correct?
Okay, I don't see it, but that doesn't mean I didn't delete it. So.
We'll double check, but yeah, we'll
Thank you.
double check.
Thank you, sir. All right, moved by Councilman Fletcher, second by Vice Mayor Guzman. Now let's open the floor up as we have to do. Close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second for approval. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey, Vice Mayor Guzman,
Yes.
Mayor Lawson.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next is tab 8. This is a motion to place car number 3874 on the council agenda. Florida Department of Law Enforcement Crime Reduction Initiative. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The Homestead Police Department applied for and received a grant award from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in the amount of $6,564 in order to conduct additional criminal investigations beyond the detective's regular investigation hours. The investigations will assist in the identification of offenders through field interviews and the gathering of information in areas where violent crimes have currently occurred. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to enter into an agreement and establish a budget for a grant award of $6,564 from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for law enforcement overtime.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments? All right, moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. Any final comments from council before I open it up to the floor? Any public comments? We'll close the public comments. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey, Councilman Roth, Councilwoman Avila, Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman, Mayor Lawson.
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you. And tab 9, motion to place car number 3846 on the council agenda. Capital Improvement Project number 2354, the rapid infiltration trenches at J.D. Red Park. Mr. Manager, make it sound more exciting than that.
Unfortunately, I can't. The South Florida Management District permit number 13000046W was modified in May 2022, authorizing an increased allocation of groundwater to the city. from the Biscayne Aquifer for public water supply use from 10.55 million gallons per day to 16.28 million gallons per day. This is an incremental increase that has performance-based contingencies. One of the contingencies is the installation of a rapid infiltration trench. The installation of this trench will allow the deallocation of flows from the HPS Energy well and water used for their cooling system to be discharged to the ground via the rapid infiltration trench. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to enter into an agreement with Hazen and Sawyer pursuant to RFQ 2013-07 Professional Architectural and Engineering Services for engineering and related services required for the city's electric utility plant cooling water return rapid infiltration project for a total of $71,970. This authorization will also allow the city manager to authorize an increase in fees as well as additional engineering services necessary to complete the project up to 30%.
Very good, thank you. So underlying this, just to clarify the Republic, is that we have received an additional allocation of water that will help us continue to accommodate growth and redevelopment.
That is
But
correct.
This infiltration system to the deep injection requirement.
Right, so we would
that
be.
we're designing here is a condition of that allocation.
That is correct. And so those used waters for cooling is re-injected back into the aquifer, not at the drinking water level, but I believe below that. But at least over time, it replenishes the aquifer.
Very good, thank you. Real win-win all the way around. Questions or comments from council? Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you. And this will not have any effect on flooding and Shady Red or anything like that? Just, that's a loud
No,
no, right?
nothing like that, no.
Thank you.
Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth? Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers? Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila? Vice Mayor Guzman?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And last but not least, tab 10, a discussion on car number 3864, the Seminole Theater mural. I think this is cast as a approval for a call to artists, is that correct? Or is this
Yes,
just
sir.
for an example? Okay, this is
Yes.
for a call to artists. Okay, is this yours, Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. At the February 15, 2023 COW meeting, Council approved the Second Amendment amended 2021-2022 PAC work plan. Additional items were discussed to be included in the work plan. One item that discussed was the commission of a wall mural for the rear of the Seminole Theater. Staff has attached a draft call to artists for a community-themed mural for the Seminole Theater. Upon review and discussion, staff recommends amending the PAC work plan through the addition of the following new project and accepting the draft call to artists for posting.
Thank you. Two quick comments from me. It talks about a budget of up to $100,000.
Okay?
All right, I'm not certain that's enough because we've given the artists the leeway to provide more durable materials other than a traditional painted mural. It's my understanding that, a mixed media of tiles or glass tile or metal or whatever that material may be will be far more durable, but that a more reasonable budget may be around $300,000 to accomplish that 100 is probably nowhere near enough to have the opportunity for a far more durable and diverse material used other than just paint.
I mean, if there-
So where did the 100 come from? Was that
Well,
just for
if
discussion
David could come
purposes?
up.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The number of 100,000 sort of began with the Public Art Committee when we were sort of visualizing, conceptualizing potential projects for them to undertake. It wasn't dealing with a wall of this size and magnitude when it was contemplated.
Very good, and may not have considered other material in addition to paint. So,
Well,
really good.
some consideration
Yeah.
was for mosaics and tiles and things of that nature, but it wasn't specified
Okay.
in
So,
particular.
all right, so we're talking about maybe 3 or 4 times what was originally envisioned when the 400 number was out there. Would be my concern. So that's our call, I guess.
I mean, if
Yeah.
council wants, we could definitely increase the budget.
Right. The only other question I had, and it kind of goes exactly with what what's that?
I just had a follow-up question to the pricing. I think we should be strategic. I don't think we should just arbitrarily increase the budget. I think we should have a frame of reference. When we proposed 100,000 for the art installation in the summer, we calculated that by some of the amounts that some of these art installations has cost from other municipalities. And when I think about this one, if we need a frame of reference for how much a mural may cost, here in one of our municipalities, they have murals on the mile, where they have like 4 different murals in their municipality. So we can look at, okay, how much did this space cost? How much did this mural cost? And I think it'll give us a better frame of reference on what our price point should be, as opposed to just picking a number.
So do we have time between now and whenever our next meeting would be to have staff perhaps do that research and bring this back?
Yeah, I'm sure we can get those numbers in less than a week, probably in a couple of days. Before the end of the week, we should probably
Okay.
be able to get those numbers.
Because, those numbers were provided to me by someone who is supposedly in the know.
Okay.
It wasn't a willy-nilly number, but I think that's a fair request to see how far off or on we are.
And I can get you the Miracle on the Miles is Coral Gables. And if we are considering mosaic, I'm not sure where we are. There's a mosaicist who just created a huge mural at my school out of mosaic. He's also located in Coral Gables as well, so he can give us a frame of reference so that we have ballparks for all different art mediums. And I can get you that contact information as well.
Absolutely, and my other concern that jumped out at me even before we had the presentation tonight is that it talked about elements and settings related to agriculture, et cetera, shall be included. I mean, are we overthinking this? Are we being too constraining when we say shall be included?
We're creating a baseline, and that's why we're bringing it to council to see what your general idea and feeling about the call to artists is, right?
All right, maybe, and we're calling this a community-themed mural. And it may be more appropriate or less constraining to indicate that an artist should take into account these historic and present and future community themes when creating a proposal. I mean, I don't want to have somebody come in with a bang-up proposal that left out an avocado somewhere in the may and shall or should conundrum. And again, we heard firsthand tonight that sometimes we policymakers put shackles on artists that maybe shouldn't be. Just a thought.
I mean, staff is open to council's direction, so.
Okay. Ms. Councilwoman Bailey?
Thank you, Mayor. In an effort not to shackle the artists, I did imagine that one really, paying tribute to the history of the Miccosukis and the Seminoles. Just because of that being such a historic building, I feel like that is the place where it should be. I think that that if we're talking about what the history is, it's almost a little bit of a slap in the face if we are not recognizing where those beginnings came from. So I do not at all want to as you just said, put those shackles on there. But I think we're missing a big opportunity here of not, like many things are doing right now, changing history or doing any type of washing when we have such a beautiful opportunity to really pay that tribute. So,
Well, and at least, be incorporated in these community themes so that they're not overlooked.
definitely. And then the last thing is, when we were looking at the footprints of the buildings from the CRA, was everybody also thinking murals on those roofs would be amazing with the drones? Just something to think about. Thank you, Mayor.
Murals on the roof?
On the roof. Did you, all I see is like this huge blank canvas.
Oh.
Or solar panels. Thank you, Mayor.
You have something, Councilwoman?
I just wanted to say that I think it is important to have a point of reference. I don't necessarily want to triple our budget for a rear-facing mural, although being able to see it from the other side of town coming towards Chrome Avenue would be obviously an attractive piece and a call to our park. And the time frame to get this done, we're trying to get it completed by when?
Once we have guidance from council, we'll go ahead and update the call to artists. Like I said, probably by the end of the week, we'll have the updated numbers of what a mural will go ahead and cost, and so we could basically update it. And David, is there any requirement with the county for doing the call to artists with them, once we submit it? Like a time frame?
They do have a time frame that sometimes is not as quick as we would like, because they have ongoing projects and activities that they have going on as well. So we'll need to coordinate with them of how we get our stuff posted on their website, and they basically do the collecting and then passing the information back to us on their system. So we don't really have a system at present to do it ourselves, so we've been using the county system, and we do sort of have to follow their time frames of working with them to get it accomplished.
But we'll expedite on our end and get it to them as quickly as possible, so at least we can get the process started.
But for approving the call to artists, we could put this on next week's regular council agenda with the information that,
Yep.
the financial information we've requested, as well as inclusion of the indigenous,
Yeah, the
groups
Native Americans, yeah.
that
And
do-
still keep it very nature
Yeah, absolutely, nature and history oriented.
And my other question is, with regards to prioritizing the art projects that we're calling for artists, did we come up with a list? Did I?
Remember, we have the call to artists master plan, right? The
But in
number
what
one-
order? In what order are we calling these?
Well, as David is getting them done, but I'll let David.
The way that we've addressed it so far is the one that we approved at the last meeting had a shorter time frame to follow, so that one's has to meet a more timely process than the other ones. The other ones are probably a little bit more difficult because they're different types of art that is being contemplated with a sculpture, and this one with a mural is probably going to take a little bit more time for someone to prepare the concept, work with us, have us sort of review and look at the choices that we have to choose from. I would suspect that we're going to get many, many more submittals for the chrome sculpture and for the mural than the other, because the other one has a much tighter time frame for somebody to really put together the information on.
Thank you.
Has the Chrome call to artists been published? I mean, I think we approved that and to be forwarded to the county, or is it in their hands?
We're working with them on that.
What does that mean? Is it out of this building and in their hands, or is it not gone out yet?
It's not gone out yet. It's still being updated, but we've had conversations with them, and they know that what our time frame is that we're looking for. And they're working, indicated that they'll work with us on getting accomplished.
So help me understand what the issue is. We approved what was in the package, and now that's not what's going out.
I think there were a couple of changes to the wording in the package for the interactive fountain one as well as the chrome sculpture that we're working with the manager's office and getting.
For the chrome sculpture, I remember there was multiple locations, and so we were asking the artist to provide us two versions of the bust, right?
Or choose one.
Or choose one. And then the other one for the parks, I know there was the question of, this is somebody who's already created the art and just come and do a display here, or allow someone to actually create a new piece of art for the park as well. So I know those changing in wordings, but we'll get them out as soon as we can.
Okay, so one of us can ask that question next Wednesday if they've gone out yet. Anything further, Mr. Manager?
No, Mayor, nothing from the manager's office.
Anything further from council? Yes. Councilwoman Fairclough-Staggers.
Yes, just wanted to weigh in on the murals. I absolutely love this concept. I don't know who I should attribute my peak in this whole art thing. I don't know if it's Bailey or Susan, but I'm totally into this now. Just, just a couple of comments. I definitely think the theme works, and based on my experience, when the youth council and I visited Philadelphia, they have amazing, beautiful murals and sculptures, and everything is centered around the city of brotherly love. The city of brotherly love on a huge mural. There's the LOVE letter sculpture in Love Park. So everything is centered around the heart of that city. And then when you think about the murals on the mile, it's Smile, you're in the city beautiful. Welcome to Coral Gables, the city beautiful. They're really playing up on that. And when I think about ours, it should be a theme as well. In order for it to be interactive, and reading some of the verbiage here, there is a mural that was installed at a school in Miami Beach that gave emphasis to art, technology, and education. So it's a huge mural. You can scan the mural with your smartphone on a QR code, and then you learn everything about it. It just comes to life in that mural. So we want this interactive, engaging technology. There is a vendor that we've utilized in the city before that really brings it to life, and that same vendor created the mural in Miami Beach at that school. So in addition to kids in our community who may have no frame of reference to our history, as opposed to just looking at it, figuring out what it is, they can interact and engage via technology to learn actually the history of Homestead. So I think those elements should be incorporated, art, technology, and education, centered around a theme. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, absolutely. Councilwoman.
Thank you very much. And if we can throw some sunflowers in there, I love that we're like a sunflower city with all the fields that we've got down here in South Dade. I wanted to thank Mayor and Council for supporting the Kiwanis Good Friday Prayer Breakfast. Thank you to all of the support from the community. It was a beautiful event. And I wanted to also mention that I received an invitation to go to the Harrisfield Pavilion every Sunday, beginning this Sunday, for the Homestead Artisanal Market. So is that approved and ongoing now? Because that is a flyer.
We're gonna have to check on the permit. If his rental went through, then yes, but I can't confirm that right now.
Okay, well, if it is confirmed, then if you were to go to homesteadfarmersmarket.com, you'll find that they are providing and supporting local small businesses with providing artisanal and farm-to-table type of products. So if they're there, I'll probably be there this Sunday. And the last item I wanted to talk about was with all of our drive to creating a downtown that's walkable, inviting, beautiful, accessible. I'm finding, I work right on Chrome Avenue, so I see it on a daily basis, and I do work very early hours to very late hours, and I see a lot of, how shall I say, regular wanderers up and down Chrome Avenue, on Campbell Drive, and you know, it's obvious that there is a strong issue with mental health with some of these regulars. And what are we doing? What are our options for those that are either homeless or suffering with some kind of mental illness? I've also received a very disturbing complaint of some individuals that are exposing themselves near schools, and it may not be that they're intentionally doing it, but it's just in their mind in that moment. They're just not there, but that's the reality of what some of our tourists, residents, children are witnessing. And I don't think that that's something I don't think anybody's ignoring, excuse me, I don't think anybody's ignoring it, that it's happening, but I really think that this is something we need to address very aggressively in the sense of providing resources and help. So I know we have SOS. Please help me. And this might take a few minutes, guys, and I'm sorry, but this is something I'd like to bring up now. So if we need to bring it up at council under my agenda, we can. Thank you.
Good evening. Something interesting happened actually today that will kind of outline exactly what we're doing. We had our community policing unit that travels throughout the city and observed an encampment over by BJ's. I don't know if anybody has seen it, just on the east side on the field. They approached the gentleman, they spoke to him, they set up an appointment with SOS. Since then, we've been able to get him a job. This was today. Meet with him, get him a job, get him placement, and he's extremely happy. But that's like one, and I don't know what the ratio is. The biggest issue is getting them to accept these services. We do have these services. We do talk to them. We do bring them into SOS. Officers are consistently offering these services. But the challenge is getting them to go ahead and accept these services.
Okay, so we offer a plethora of services that are real-life opportunities.
Sure. Everything from temporary housing to get them into the homeless assistance center to, depending on the criteria on what the issues that they're dealing with, there's several areas that SOS has at their disposal to reach out to. We can house them in a local hotel for a couple days temporarily until we get these housing, but Sandy is the foremost expert on this.
Well, I wouldn't classify it that way. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I think it's important to point out that there's different types of homelessness. What we're seeing more of now is families. And we're seeing that due to the economy and due to many other factors where the rent is going up, insurance is going up, and families are struggling and they're not making it. That's the reality. And we see, in fact, I have the numbers in the last week. SOS has dealt with 12 homeless families. So basically, as the captain had said, we are able to put a family up for 1 or 2 days until we can find permanent placement, like at the HAC, depending on, we first do an assessment because there may be, as you pointed out, a mental health issue. And then we need to see where can they go to get treatment and to get housing. Or it may be substance abuse. We may have to look at the family structure. Are the children safe? I mean, there's many factors in here. Are they just down on their luck? They need a job. Okay, let's work on that. It's a very broad problem. We cannot just label homelessness. It impacts singles, family units, and then you have the children who are living in a car. One thing that I will say that I've seen more and more families, that single mothers that park at the hospital and they live out of their cars because they have a bathroom, they have a cafeteria, and their children feel safe because there's security. I mean, we don't, I'll get off my soapbox in 10 seconds, but we as this group do not think of those issues of how do I keep my children safe in my car, or how do I feed my children, how do we go to the bathroom? I mean, so if you've got all of that to deal with and then you're trying to work, you're trying to get your kids to school, it just, sometimes they need that helping hand. And that's what we're there for. But also if they so choose to be homeless, some people like being homeless, believe it or not. And if it's a single person without children and that's what they choose to do, we cannot force them, off the street. Legally, we cannot do that.
Very happy to hear that we have immediate action available to provide the help and assistance. And I think that those are obviously very tragic cases that, are oftentimes mitigated through our services. where I think we need to maybe have a little bit more stronghold on those cases of public intoxication and those regulars that I do see that are walking around and they are catcalling or they are, creating a nuisance to families that are walking in the opposite direction to frequent some of our retail and our businesses. So what does our police have in place in terms of policy or law to help take control of that?
Sometimes law enforcement action is necessary, right? So we do have open consumption laws in the county where the person can be arrested for consuming alcohol within 100 feet of a place that sells the same thing. We also have disorderly intoxication laws, but these are all misdemeanors. Keep in mind, we'll arrest them. They'll make it to TGK, and by the end of the shift, I'll see them again on the street. This has happened. So it's kind of like a bigger issue where also the jails, they have social workers there. They offer these programs, but like Sandy most eloquently said, it really boils down to what they want to do. Sometimes they just don't want the assistance. We see them day in and day out. We try to do the extra watches in the businesses, especially the stores where we know that, they frequent to drink in the back and they'll leave bottles and so on and so forth. We'll try to mitigate that. Our community policing unit does amazing work in getting the business owners to also play a part with their trespass letters and giving us the authorization to go ahead and either make arrests or trespass the people from the property. And we do that on a daily basis.
Okay, is there anything that we can do to help you and the department do a better job?
The laws are in place. Aside from an ordinance or something that you guys can come up with to strengthen it, I'm not sure. The open consumption law is an ordinance also. It's a county ordinance. And that gives us the power to go ahead and deal with that in a law enforcement issue. But as far as the rest of the issues, it's just getting them to accept the help. And we're doing that every day. As you said, in the past, not so long, we've had 12 families. That's not counting the individuals that we've dealt with.
Thank you very much for that information, and I will work with the department to see what else we can do and try to bring it up on a future agenda. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Pearl.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we leave, I'd like to announce an executive session in the case of Talton v. City of Homestead, case number 2021-008635 in Miami-Dade County Circuit Court. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll make it happen. Council, anything further? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Good night. Meeting adjourned.